Hi guys, so in this video we'll be setting up Express, um, which is the backend for this app, and I'll be setting up the Express middleware. So first let's create a directory. So let me just go to where I have my projects. And let me make a directory and call it album creator. And I'm going to change into that. And if you have VS Code text editor, you can just simply do code dot like that, and it'll open up that current folder that you're in VS Code. All right, so we can close this. So basically, I have npm package manager and yarn. Um, so I guess I'll do this one with yarn because I when I made this app on my previously on my before I moved over to my other laptop, I made it with npm, and I'm gonna do it with yarn this time. It's the same setup. So basically, you just want to use yarn like that to create a yarn lock file, and then I actually first need to install the packages as well. So you can use npm as well. And so we'll do yarn init or npm init. So name album creator version 1.0. You can put anything you want for the description. Your entry point file, I'm gonna leave it as index.js. Author is your name, and then that's it. So you can see here we have our package JSON here. So we're gonna install a few things. So first, I want to install Express, obviously, for the backend. Express session for any basically for like each user session. Cores for protection. There's a lot of things you can do with cores. You can whitelist certain IP addresses. So like basically only certain IP addresses can basically do whatever they want. I guess like when it comes to testing and stuff. With cores though, you can prevent like certain CRUD methods from accessing certain endpoints. So basically create, read, update, and delete methods. So that's like basically get, post, put, patch, delete requests, and all those. You can prevent certain, you can prevent like any one of those from like basically hitting a certain route. And so that's really useful for some things as well. And these are all like regular dependencies, by the way. None of these are dev dependencies yet. I also want to install. Let's see, no more is a dev dependency. Let me see what else. I want to install decrypt.js because when we hash the password, we would need that. I want to install. Well, actually, crypto is the core module, so I don't need to install that. That's for hashing as well. I want to install fs extra, which gives us extra commands with the fs module, which is the core Node.js module. I'm gonna use that just basically for basically creating like a. Actually, wait, did I do that for this app? I might not need FS extra. I'm gonna leave that one out. I think I actually changed up what I did right there. So I'll leave that one out. Obviously, we need MongoDB for our backend, like for our database. Um, I'm gonna use Mongoose RM for that as well, which helps us connect to MongoDB. And I also want to bring in Malter, which helps us deal with basically sending basically uploading pictures, but like just for sending data overall. There's different storage engines you can use with Malter. Um, I'm gonna be using the default storage engine for it. You can even make your own storage engine, which is pretty cool. But I'm gonna be using the default storage engine. GridFS storage engine is used with it as well. If you want to like send data that pretty much is greater than 16 megabytes, and so that's something you should look into as well. And so for right now, I think these are all the dependencies that I need in terms of core, or like basically regular dependencies. So we'll install those. All right. And then now I want to install some dev dependencies. So I'll do npm install dash capital D for global dev dependencies. And I want to install nodemon, which helps basically keep the server running whenever you save a file. So you don't have to like control C to stop the server and run it again. I also want to install .env, which allows us to access global environment variables a lot easily throughout our package. And what we would do is configure that in our entry point file, which is our index.js file. And then I want to bring in concurrently, which is used to run two scripts at once. This will allow us to run the front end and back end at the same time. And I want to install Morgan, which basically allows us to see our server request in the console. So we'll also save that. And then once that's done, I'll get started on doing the entry point file. Alright, so we can just type in the word clear to clear the terminal, control backtick to close it, and if we go into our package JSON, you can see all the dependencies that we downloaded are right here. By the way, I know that there's a regular bcrypt module for this, but bcrypt.js works better on Windows computers, at least as far as I know. And so just to say something about that, you can see this is our node modules folder of all the different modules. And you can see that even though we didn't like download any of these directly, a lot of modules we downloaded use these, which is why these are also downloaded. And basically, when we actually compile this with our static assets, all these get compiled down via Webpack, and then basically we use that to um, send it to the actual like server where we're hosting it, so that we can actually like so it can be used. So let me create an index.js file here. You can also use touchindex.js in your in the terminal as well if you want to. And so basically, let's just bring in some of the modules here. I usually name it the same thing as whatever it's called, or like the naming convention. So let me see. I also want to bring in the path module, which is the core Node.js module. You can name this express session if you want. I just named the session there. And then, okay, so now I want to instantiate an express instance. So you can name whatever you want, and just instantiate it like that. And so this entire like app object here is basically inherits the express object or express class or type. And so we can pass this entire express configuration into another basically like wherever we want. So like sometimes you see it where people would pass the entire express instance into like another file. And that's usually what you want to do because you want to avoid basically like trying to export certain things with module.exports with Node when dealing with the express configuration, because for instance like with Malta, if you try to export it from a separate file and bring it into something like a routes file, basically it won't be able to register it, and so like you would have to do it within the express object here of the express instance, so that it will be picked up by express because Malta is used by express. So you have to be aware of that as well. And so basically that's so in order to use any middleware, which is what these modules are kind of basically called, we have to use app.use. And so first I just want to bring in a couple things. There used to be a module called body parser, but now it's like part of Express. And we need this to actually process JSON on the back end. So we need to bring in express.json like that. And then we also need one for handling like regular form data. And so we need to do express.url encoded. And then we want to put in there for options extended to false like that. And then we also, this will be false. We'll save uninitialized, which basically saves the empty session. The secret, which we'll be making in a minute, will be process.env.secret key. Process is basically a node variable, and env means the environment variables for the Node.js environment process. And so basically, when we create our config .env file, we're basically going to be, when we configure .env above everything here, it'll basically be able to read this. And so we also want to pass in cookie, and we'll do an option of secure to true. Use the dev, basically we put in dev like that, basically so that we can see the server request in our console. Now we also want to bring in, or we want to create a static folder for all of our for all of our static data on the back end. I know React, obviously, when you build it, it creates static assets in its own public folder, and you can move them into the other folder. But for this, we want to actually give it its own a static folder as well. So I use app.use express.static, and I want to use that path module that I just brought in there to join the paths together. And what I want to put in there is underscore dir name, which is the current directory, and then just a folder called public, like that. So basically, there'll be a folder called public there. We have to make that. If you were using the fs extra package, what you could do was, if you were running the script and you use like fs.makedir sync, it'll synchronously make that directory for you before it runs this, so that it'll be made if it doesn't exist already. But I'm gonna just manually make it here, so we can just do public like that, and that's what this folder is here. So now we just want to create a port variable, and so we'll do port is equal to, once again, process, as a global environment variable, or will be. It'll be port, and then if there's no port there, it'll be 5000. And then I want to use app, which is what we named express instance dot listen, and then we'll do port, and then basically we can just log whatever we want to log here. So I can do like console dot log, and then server is running, and then we use template or syntax with dollar and curly braces, process.env.node environment, which is what I'm gonna call the whether it's in development or production. It'll just be a string called development, either development or production for the value, and then we mode on port, and then whatever that port is that we just made. And so basically that's it. 24 lines for our initial backend server startup. I didn't bring in .env yet. I guess I can configure that really quickly in this video. So basically .env, you want to make sure you configure this before you do anything that requires a process env variables. You just say config like that, and we just have to pass in one option of path. And that basically is just the path of wherever the global environment file is on your system. So for me, it's going to be / because we're in a current directory. It's going to be in a folder called config, and then it'll be /config.env. So now we have access to those variables, and I have to actually create that. So let me just go and grab my environment variables really quickly. Over here and create a new folder, call it config, and then inside of there, I just want to create a new file called config.env. You can see the symbol over there changed. And so basically, I already had these variables here. This basically is your Mongo URI, which I'm using Mongo Atlas, which basically you just go there, you sign up, you can use a free cluster, and then you create a project. And once you create it, there should be a button called connect, and you connect your application, and then you just take that simple it's not the SSL, it's like the regular string, it's not the full driver, and basically you just grab that and you put it in here. This string is what you need to connect to Mongo, and then they're going to give you this is basically going to have caret symbols around it, like for the password field. You want to replace that with the password you use when they make you create a user, and you want to get rid of those caret symbols as well, otherwise it won't work. And this is the environment variable. It just says the word development. Our secret key for our session When we create our JSON Web Token, this is be our secret for that in order to verify it. And then our port, which is 5,000, but we can change that to whatever we want. And so now those are our environment variables. We brought it in. Basically, I guess last but not least, I'll set up connecting the Mongo DB really quickly, just to have that inside of this video. So basically, what I'm gonna do with that, I'm gonna actually create another file in here called db.js. And so basically, we're using Mongo's ORM to connect to Mongo, which makes it easier. And so we got to bring that in just like we brought in the modules in the other file. And so this will be mongoose like that. And so basically, I want to export this entire function because this isn't used by Express. You can use MongoDB with other things as well. So because Express, you don't need Express to recognize MongoDB like that in order for it to be used. You don't have to worry about exporting it and having to somehow keep everything inside the Express object because you're just running a function here. So it'll be module.exports. It'll be equal to a function, anonymous function. You use the arrow function as well. And basically, I want to make this asynchronous because we're connecting to a database. So I mean, you want to obviously you can do other stuff while you wait on that. And so I want to put this in a try catch as well. And so basically, what I want to do here is I want to create a new connection. So new connection is equal to await because we're using await async. You can also use dive in, and we want to use mongoose and then connect. And then we want to basically bring in that Mongo URI from here. And then so it'll be process.env.mongo URI. And the reason we don't have to use .env config in here is because remember this is our entry point file, so this is the first file that gets hit when the application gets ran. And because we configured it right here before we did anything else, we can use that throughout the entire thing in any file on the back end. And so basically, we want to pass in some options as well. And inside of here, I just simply want to do 4 options here. So use, create, index to true. Use, find, and modify. And this will be the only one that's false. And this is because if you do find one and update or find one and delete mongoose methods, basically if it's set to true, it'll give you a warning saying that that's deprecated. And so you want that to be set to false. Everything else here is set to true though. And so basically these are the 4 options here. And then right after we basically get this new connection, it won't run this next line until we get it. And once we get it, because it usually takes like a second and a half or so. Once we get this connection, we want to simply just log something. So we can do log like that. And then basically we just want to log server is connected at, and then where it's connected at. So that's that new connection that we just created. And then it has a member called connection, like this. And then there's another member called host, and that'll basically give us the string, which should be, let me save this, should be something similar to this. And so that basically lets you know that you're connected. And then if there's an error, we just want to log it. And then we also want to exit the application since we kind of need MongoDB in order to actually use it. So then we would just do process again, which is the node process, and we'll just exit the entire application with a code of 1. And so that's it for this function. And when we created it, we set it to module.exports. So now inside of here, we're not necessarily using the structuring to bring it in, but we can name it whatever we want. So connect to DB or something. It'll require just like a module, but because it's not a module, we have to actually give it the actual path for it. So we're in our current directory, we go to config and then DB like that. We don't have to put the MIME type in for requiring files. And basically that will require anything that we exported from there. So we can export multiple things from here and it'll bring in all of it. Now, if you export multiple things, you will want to name it so that you can destructure it. Basically, that's how we bring it in. And then we want to connect to the database. You can connect because it's separate from Express. You can connect before you run the Express instance or after. It doesn't really matter. I'll just bring it in right here. And then you want to instantiate it like that in order to call the method. And then that should be it. So if you run this here, actually wait, do I have a script here for running this? Let me check. Nope, I don't have any scripts. So basically, let me create a scripts field here, and this is JSON, so you want it in double quotes. It's gonna be an object like that, and so basically, because we're gonna have more than one script, and so basically, I'm gonna just call this script dev, and this will just simply be node mine, which is that dev dependency we brought in, and then the entry point file. Do I want to set up concurrently the dev script node mine index.js, and basically that'll run node mine for us. So now I can do, and even though like I use the yarn lock file, which I actually forgot to lock everything in there once I put the dependencies. I'll make sure I do that. It'll run without the actual server being connected, and then you won't actually be able to tell if it's connected or not. So that's why you want to basically await it. So when it's done, that's when it'll log that it's connected. Video, we'll actually be working on creating our Mongoose schema and setting up the routes for the backend. And oh, by the way, you can Control C to stop it as well. Yes, to terminate it, and then you can clear your console, Control backtick to close it.